Straight Talk with your host Reggie B. Come on, let's all join in. Free your voice, it's your choice, alright here. Oh, Simply Straight Talk.
Hello, Simply Straight Talk family. It's your girl Shelby, and I have a question for you. Are you ready to shake things up and make some moves? On today's show, Reggie is going to share some events in his life that made him decide a change was necessary. This is going to get deep, and Reggie is going to get personal. So keep it locked right here on the Simply Straight Talk Show.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Simply Straight Talk Show. This is your host Reggie, and today we're going to be talking about situations in your life that make you realize that you need a change. Now, you kind of forgive us for a little bit because we was having a conversation before the show started, and we was talking about phones and we was talking about contracts. So somebody said, hey, do you feel it's right that you got to, keep getting stuck inside these 2-year contracts or these 36-month contracts? So somebody, I'm not going to say a name, stood up and asked, well, how long is a 3-year contract? How many months is that? I guess you had to be here. I don't know. You had to be here. Let's get started. Okay, it was a funny moment here on the set. All right. So today we're talking about situations that make you realize or make you think about your life. Things that have happened to you that made you say, you know what? Something's got to change. Something has got to give. And when you think about these things, now some people feel like these changes or these moments only occur after some type of very dramatic or tragic experience. Well, I don't think that's necessarily true. I think people have these thoughts quite often, and it's not the result of a tragic experience. But I think sometimes it's just a result of either a person has these thoughts and they say, you know what? I need to actually focus on this and figure out a way to make this change, or they feel like, look, I got too much going on in my life. Even though I need to deal with it, I'm going to push it to the background. And sometimes that's what people do. It's like they just don't want to focus on where they want to be or what they want to do because they may feel like, man, I'm just going through so much right now. I just don't have the mental strength or the mental desire to add one more thing to my plate. But there are other people who feel like, you know what? This is just a moment right here that's made me realize that something in my life has got to change. Something has got to change. Now, for me, I can't speak for nobody else because everybody has a situation. But for me, there were things in my life that took place that kind of made me realize like, man, this has got to change. There's got to be a better way about this. Now, I guess let me just tell you about 4 things I can tell you right off the top of my head from my life that made me realize that there are certain areas in my life that had to change. And number 1, we've been talking about this so far for this whole season 3. We've been talking about relationships. But for me, now this wasn't the number 1 thing, but it was on the list. But as far as relationship goes, I had to just sit myself down and say, because I was getting involved with people that cared nothing about my growth. They cared nothing about my aspirations for life. And it just made me realize that I needed to set standards and boundaries because I was just bringing people into my life. And sometimes you call them social, just social interactions or whatever. But the closer they was getting to my life, they were draining me because they were not trying to promote me. They were not people that were actually trying to move up in life or do something different. It was just simply, they knew or saw the potential that they could get ahead by knowing me for some particular reason. Either I knew somebody they wanted to get in contact with, or maybe they just felt like, they knew that if you got a good heart, you will help. So it was for stuff like that. It wasn't people that was like actually wanting to see you succeed, wanting to see you better in life, where you actually exchange stories of, this is what I'm trying to do. Let me inspire you. This is what you're trying to do. Let me inspire you. Or someone who looks at you and just say, hey, man, I just think this is not the right step for you right now. I think this person is a bad choice to have around. So I never had people like that was really down in my life as far as friends. And as far as relationships, as far as, with women, I never had that woman that was like, you're first. Like, you're my man, you're first. It's about me and you. We're going to build this together. And I just, for some reason, so that's why I had to take a look at me. I was always drawing women that felt like I'm just out to get what I need for whatever I can do for me. And then whatever's left, if anything is left, you take that. So that's just kind of like what I was having coming into my life. So relationships, as far as friends, as far as women, I had to change that. I had to start setting criteria. I had to start looking at ways like, this is not going to work. So I had to find a way that it had to be better. The other thing that made me realize that I needed a change in my life was jobs. I mean, because it got to a point to where I realized that other people had control over my life. And I don't think people realize how much their employer, now specifically the managers and the supervisors, because you can't really blame the company, because the company hires these managers and supervisors. Now, sometimes you get a good manager and supervisor who really does care about the employees, their health and welfare. But sometimes you just get these managers and supervisors that either discriminate, or they got favoritism, or, they're just stuck on a high horse. They don't know anything, but you can't talk to them. I mean, they're just basically poor leaders, poor managers. And, they will use their position to control your life, with their power, and to make you feel stress and discomfort. And it's just having somebody else who's controlling your life like that, somebody else who's determining, when you can take a vacation, when you can go somewhere, when you can have lunch, and it's a feeling of, if you don't do this, then I'm going to take away your financial freedom. I'm going to affect your finances because I will fire you, or I will suspend you without pay. So when you're dealing like that and you're underneath an employer or company that just really doesn't care about you, it is a very hard feeling to work for a company that doesn't appreciate you, to work for managers or supervisors that don't care, talk to you any kind of way, disrespect you. And they do this because they know you need a job, you need to pay your bills. So when you're working in that type of environment, it can be tough. So that's one thing that made me realize that when it came to the job market, I needed to control that more, but I needed a change in that area in my life as well. The next thing I want to talk about is paycheck to paycheck. Now, this is an area I think a lot of us can agree with, because there are so many people working 80 hours a week. Now, and to be honest with you, most people are working 2 jobs. So they're working over 80 hours a week. You got some people putting in close to 110, 120 hours a week just so they can make ends meet. And at the end of the pay week, when they get that check, and they're still, here's my thing. Nobody should be working a job, you know what I'm saying, doing all of this work. Then at the end of the week, not only have you depleted your money from this pay period, you're already tapping into the next paycheck, and you haven't even gotten there yet. You're already trying to figure out, how can I pull money from my next check to help cover what this check didn't cover? And I'm not talking about people who living leisurely and, just wasting money. I'm talking about people that's trying to get the basics: food, gas, transportation, paying their rent, paying their utilities, cell phone bill, all this type stuff. So paycheck to paycheck is something that you have to consider. I mean, even for me, man, because I remember getting evicted and I was working 2 jobs, but the money just wasn't there. It just wasn't there, and there was nothing I can do. And I'm telling you something. For those of you who have never been evicted before, it is the worst feeling to come home and see all your furniture sitting out on the street corner. Normally, they got like a little place they'll put it. And even your neighbors now, the same people you've been talking to for the past 1 or 2 years, are out there looking over your furniture, trying to see what they can get and take into their house. And, and that's the sad thing, when you're like living that, when you're going through that's a tough thing, man. It's hard. It's hard. That's why I feel when I see somebody getting evicted, to me, you would think that as a community, especially if it's a good neighbor, that people will come together and say, listen, we can't help you pay your rent. Let's watch over their furniture. Don't let nobody take their stuff. Because once they put that stuff outside, most of the complexes or whatever, whoever evicts it, they don't care. They don't care. They want the property. But sometimes life hits a person where you just don't have the money. I'm not ashamed to say, man, I've been there. So, I ain't trying to fake the funk. You know what I'm saying? Now, one of the other things that made me realize I needed a change in my life was waking up. And I'm going to tell you right now, this came from watching Spike Lee movie, School Days. Now, if you ain't seen the movie, we all got to do the spoiler alert thing now. So spoiler alert, if you haven't seen School Days, which came out in like 95. But anyway, in the movie School Days, the last scene of the movie, Lawrence Fishburne walks out, rings the bell, and start yelling loud as he can on what they called Mission College. It's supposed to be like, it was a college they created in Atlanta, a historically black college. It's called Mission College, but it doesn't exist. That was just a movie name. But he starts ringing this bell in the courtyard and screaming, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. But it was symbolic to the black community when he was saying wake up about the troubles we were facing with each other, dealing with light skin versus dark skin, old generation versus younger generation. Now, what does this sound like? Just as a side note, but this happened before Black Panther. Everything that Black Panther covered, Spike Lee actually covered it in School Days. Okay, so when we talk about, now after seeing that movie, so y'all get me sidetracked, after seeing that movie and hearing him do that, when I first saw the movie, I didn't grasp it as much as I did when I got older. When I got older and I watched that movie again, I was just watching it for entertainment, but I was seeing it through a set of different eyes. Because when you've gone through life and you've been through much more, you start to have a different view about things. You start to have a different, visual way of seeing and mentalizing things. And if that's a word. Okay, but the thing about it is when I watched the movie the second time and he said, wake up, and he was yelling that, it just made me really think about my life, man. It just making me realize that, when I think about my name, just me and my name, and when I leave this place, what is my name what's going to be said about my name? What is it about my name? If you go online and Google, Reggie Maddox, Reginald Maddox, what is it will you know about me? Will I leave an impact? So it just made me realize that I needed to change some things because I was just existing. And that's what I was doing. I was existing, going from one place to the next. Whatever opportunity opened the door, I would just take that. So basically, I wasn't awake. I wasn't awake to the things that I needed to be doing, the things about the community where I could be helping out, contributing, ways I could be inspiring people and helping people and reaching out and using my voice, using my skills, whatever was possible, whatever gifts that God gave me, I was not using it to enlighten other people, even within my community. So that's what made me think about, when he was saying, wake up, wake up, wake up, because sometimes we live in a false sense of comfort and thinking that just existing and being alive is happiness. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't be happy about being alive, but you need to have more of a social conscience about where you at are, and you need to have more of a social conscience regarding the fact of what are you trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish? Come time when you're no longer in this world, what is it that if somebody Google your name or somebody talks about you, what footprint are you leaving behind that they can see? What is it that's about you that this world cannot take away because the footprints are embedded in this world? All right, I'm going to leave that thought with you, but don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more of the Simply Straight Talk Show. And I'm going to get my words together.
Free your mind, free your voice right here on Simply Straight Talk.
Hey, are you looking for some great music, upbeat and with a positive voice? Well, the song I Stand With You is exactly what you need. This timeless song has a pop version sung by Audrey Carmel. And a reggae version sung by General Steele, now known as Revelation.
Now I know some days you may feel blue, Lord. Trust in your greatness to see you through.
These songs are now available on iTunes and other digital platforms for download. Don't miss out. Get your copy today.
Give life your best, and I know.
We're back with the conversation starter and the voice that works harder. Your host, Reggie.
All right, everybody, welcome back. We are here for the second part of the Simply Straight Talk Show, and today we are talking about situations or things that happened in your life that made you say, you know what? It's time for a change. It's time for me to do things differently. And I'm giving you some examples in my life of things that kind of hit me at certain points in my life to make me realize that where I was is not where I wanted to be. And the things I was doing was not really going to get me anywhere because something inside of me was like, I want more. I really want more. And one of the first things we talked about in the first part of the show was relationships. Now, I explained to you a little bit why I felt the relationships as far as friends and women I was dating in my life, why it had to change. And you know, one of the things I really did to change that situation was I observed certain things. You know, I looked at how a person acted when they was with me, but around other people. Did they still act the same? Or was it a little more like, yeah, I know him, but I don't know him right now. You know what I'm saying? Because some people will do that. You know, then I looked at that. Okay, come on, Reggie. I looked at how often we talked. And, you know, what did we talk about? You know, was this somebody that would call and just say, hey, what's up? Send a text or email every now and then just to check on you. It don't mean you got to have full-blown 5-hour conversations every night. But every so often, if that person just out of the blue, like, hey, what's up, man? You good? Then I knew, okay, that's somebody you might want to keep around as a friend because they haven't totally disregarded you. And when we talked, it was more about, we talked about each other. I found like when you got somebody that's encouraging you and you encouraging them and it's natural, it's not because you feel out of obligation or you setting something up because you want something. You know what I'm saying? So like in my life, my cousin Teddy, man, that's like my rock. That's like, man, I can't even explain the love for my cousin, man, but he's like my motivation. Y'all just don't know. But you got to have somebody like that in your life. You know, so when you talk about your goals and things you want to do, are they encouraging you or are they shrugging you off? And one of the big things I noticed is when you tell somebody some good news about you, it's normal for you to feel excited and just be all in the moment. But take a step back, take a deep breath, and just watch how that person reacts when you tell them. Do they go silent? I'll be like, oh, okay, that's nice. Because you know what? You got to be careful because everybody does not celebrate what's good about you. Some people celebrate more the downfall and the pitfalls in your life than your upcomings. You better watch out for that. So those are some of the things I had to look out for, even in relationships. And I really went to God about this, but especially when it comes to me dating and meeting a new woman, because, you know, you want that one special person. And I just asked God to reveal to me, you know, when I'm meeting somebody, show me who I'm talking to, not what they are presenting, but show me who I'm talking to. Because that way he's revealing and not me leaning to my own understanding. I'm like, man, that girl is, look at the body. Okay. So I had to, you got to change that. The other thing was jobs. I found out that I was always chasing money, and a lot of people, we do that. Instead of taking the time to kind of sit back and position ourselves, We just go to whatever job is paying the most. If this job is paying 50 cents more, we're jumping over here. This job is paying $1 more, we're jumping over here. We're jumping to jobs that even it may be paying 50 cents or $1 more, you're still not getting what you're worth. Because what's worth more is what's inside of you. Because you got a skill or talent inside of you that you need to be developing. So what I learned to do was I started pursuing jobs that it wasn't always about the money. It was about the job that I could use that was going to help me bring out and develop that skill so I can get on my own and not have to depend on somebody else. That's the purpose. Because you want to become self-made. You want to use a job that's going to give you the insight and experience to get out there and get that financial freedom yourself and not depending on somebody else to give you a check or tell you when you can go on vacation. Or if they feel that they don't like you this week, you could be out of a job. And what you going to do? Now, you trying to figure out how to pay your bills, but they paying their bills. Come on now. And the other thing, next thing is this sort of follow lines with the job. We talked about going paycheck to paycheck. This takes time and patience because I would never tell you to just jump in any type of online business or just getting any type of, or just go out and start a restaurant. I would never tell you that. So sometimes you may have to be paycheck to paycheck for a little while or maybe 1 or 2 years. But the key to stop going from paycheck to paycheck is at some point, you're going to have to start making sacrifices. You're going to have to look at your life and be honest with yourself. What is it that I am buying or using in my life that's a leisure and not a necessity? Am I going out to eat every night when I got a refrigerator and freezer full of food? You know what I'm saying? Am I going out buying all these cigarettes knowing that I got bills due? Am I buying high-end clothes knowing that I'm only making $2,000 or $3,000 a month, but I'm spending $200 to $300 on shoes and jeans and jackets? Come on, you got to set yourself up. And the way to do that, to get out of being paycheck to paycheck, is start learning about finances, how to manage your finances better. Learn about investing, savings account. Determine the things that you need, okay? Determine what you need. And I understand everybody is not going out doing the luxury thing and living above their means. Some people are just working with what they got and they doing the best they can. But even then, you got to start looking at ways to invest. You got to start looking at how can you build a better portfolio for your banking account, for your finances. What can you do? Because in this day and age of technology, start finding out what's inside of you. What is it that you know you can do that you could do online and from home? There are a lot of people making money just writing articles. Whether it be $40 for an article, $50, $60, whatever it is, there's still money coming into your pocket. Next up, waking up. There comes a time in your life when you just realize that there's more to you and you want to be happy. And I'm going to tell you something. One thing that I really, really noticed, this is what got to me. When I watch Sidney Poitier movies, man, his movies inspired me a lot because Sidney Poitier never played a drug dealer. He never played, a pimp or none of that. He always played a black man that was intelligent, even during the times when society did not see black men as playing roles like that. In the heat of the night, he had one scene that was historic, and it was known as the slap across the world. It was the first time that a black man slapped a white man on national TV. So he inspired me that you don't have to be what society tells you that you are. Be who you know you are inside of yourself. But I look at some other culture. I look at the Asian movies. One thing I noticed about Asian movies is even when a child gets in trouble or when you see the old karate movies and they're about to get in a fight, they always reference the fact that your father, your mother, because it meant something. It meant something of who your father and mother was. The Bible, the most inspirational word that I can ever refer you to, if you read the Old Testament, especially when you start talking about David, David's name carried so much weight from generations to generations to generations after his death. God was honoring promises to David, to grandsons, great-grandsons, way down the line, just because of who David was. I say this because the name of a person can live for generations. Just thinking about, honestly, let's just think about Obama, Michelle Obama and Barack Obama. Just think about the name they have left for their daughters. Muhammad Ali for his children. Martin Luther King for his children. Spike Lee for his children. Malcolm X for his children. Sidney Poitier for his children. I'm not saying that you have to be an entertainer. I'm not saying you have to be a basketball player. But each one of these individuals set a name for themselves based on what they contributed. Now, you said, well, Spike Lee made movies. He was an entertainer. Spike Lee made movies that were socially conscious. Malcolm X was a civil rights activist. Martin Luther King, civil rights activist. They spoke for the rights of people. Sidney Poitier, he was an actor, but he portrayed movies. He portrayed himself in movies that made that black man upstanding, intelligent, smart. Muhammad Ali was a boxer. Yes, he's the greatest of all time. But this man was the greatest of all time outside of the ring as well. The contributions that all of these men made to the community, even Michelle Obama, great woman, what she has done for the community. So my point is, I wanted to make sure that my name left something more than me just existing, just me just living day to day, just barely getting by. So I decided one day I was going to start writing music. So I started writing music. I'm like, man, I love this. Then I started writing my blog. Then I wrote my first children's book. I was doing things that I loved. And these are things that was inside of me. The only thing I wish is I would have started earlier in life than later. But if I would have started earlier, I wouldn't have the knowledge and wisdom that God has given me now through the trials that I went through. But the thing, what I'm saying is, wake up and realize that there is more inside of you. Wake up and know that you are better than what you're living. There's so much more to you. Wake up. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Simply Straight Talk.
RM Viaging is a company based on life's journey and sharing life lessons with the world in the form of laughter and reflection, inspiring people to go after their dreams and not giving up on life. RM Viaging creates inspirational music and motivational speeches designed to motivate all age groups. Visit our website at www.rmviaging.com to hear samples of our music. You will also find motivational articles on our blog page titled New Life, New Mind Blog. We also have a weekly podcast hosted by Reggie called Simply Straight Talk, all on our website at www.rmviaging.com.
Are you ready for the straight truth? Reggie, what's the final word for today?
Hey, everybody, and thank you for sticking with us here on the Simply Straight Talk Show. Today, we're talking about circumstances and situations that occur in your life that just make you think, I need to do something different. And sometimes it could just be after a long day's work, or maybe you just had an argument, maybe you just walked in, or you just saw somebody else living a life that you wish you could have, or you see somebody doing something that kind of motivates you or inspires you, or maybe you just read a book, or maybe you just heard somebody talking about doing something different with your life, and now you're sitting there, you're looking at your life and you're thinking, I need to do something. I need to make a change. There's so much more I want. I have something inside of me that I need to let out. We all have that. But you can't do it just thinking about it. You got to act on it. We all want to be something more in life. We all want to reach our full potential. We all want to find our passion. And we all have a voice. The worst thing you can do is to end your life and leave this world with your voice being hid and buried. Allow your voice to speak. Find your passion. Take a chance. If you write a book and only one person buys that book, then you know what? At least you wrote a book. If you write a song and only 3 people buy that song, at least you wrote a song. You see, the point I'm trying to make to you is this. It's one thing to go through life, never trying, never doing anything, just existing and being at the will of other people controlling your life. But there's a whole nother thing when you can look at your life and say, you know what? I did write a book. I did write a song. I did make a movie. I did run for an office. I did volunteer for a community program. I did help out with a youth center. I did help out with giving out lunches. I wrote articles and contributed to inspirational guides for children, for people, for elderly. I did things that I dreamed about. I didn't just dream about them. I didn't take them to bed with me at night and leave them on my pillow when I got up. I carried them with me and I brought them to reality. This is what you have to do. You have to understand that what's inside of you was not meant to be buried in the ground with you, nor was it meant to be buried inside of you during life. Don't leave who you are dead, because what you have inside of you is something that can give light to the world, and you never know how you can touch somebody else's life. So whatever you do, no matter what somebody says about you, because I'm going to tell you, this is my feeling, and this is from the heart. People may say that, you know what, Reggie Mathers was never rich. Reggie Mathers didn't have a lot of fancy cars. He didn't play for the NFL. He wasn't no big TV star. But I tell you this, just like Lawrence Fishburne said in the movie Always Outnumbered, Always Outgunned, about that rooster that used to sit on that fence. He was old and could barely crow. Lawrence Fishburne said, he may not be loud. Everybody may not have heard him. Everybody may not have liked him. But one thing you can never say is that brother never stopped trying. Thank you for joining us. And remember to join us right here again next week for the Simply Straight Talk Show. Wake up.
Thank you for tuning in to today's show. Be sure to subscribe for more motivational topics based on real-life conversations, and don't forget to rate, review, and share our show so we can continue to bring you the best in real-life conversations. Join us next week right here on Simply Straight Talk.